morning, and welcome into Next Point Wins. I am your host, Matthew Geely. I am happy to be here this morning. I was a little slow out of the gate this morning, a little tired. It's freezing cold out, which made the walk over here to the turntable in the bottom of Cary living hall rather miserable, and still trying to get the brain to kind of warm up and get going here. But hey, every day's the Super Bowl. Got to play through it. Got to play hurt, and that's what we're going to do this morning. And got a lot planned for the show today. If you want to contact the show, you can at nextptwins@gmail.com. Also, you can go to my Twitter page, Matt_Geely, Gigli. That's where you will be able to get a hold of me the fastest throughout the show if you're listening live on the WCCR station in the Tuned In app. Welcome students doing that and other listeners around the country. If you're listening on the podcast, welcome as well. If you don't know how to get to the podcast, well, I'm here to tell you. You can go to YouTube and search Next Point Wins, or you can go to SoundCloud and search Next Point Wins. SoundCloud will have the most recent episode up. YouTube will have every episode that I've ever done. So if you're looking for the archives, you're looking to go back and watch some of your favorite segments, that's where you should go for that. If you're looking just to find the newest and latest and greatest, and you don't want to see my ugly face on camera, go to SoundCloud. That's where I'd be. All right. Glad we got all that out of the way. You know, coaching changes are, I guess, an art. They are an evolution that I would say happens in every sport. Coaching changes are a part of sports in general. Sometimes you use coaching changes as a way to jumpstart your fan base, to kind of reignite your fan base. Sometimes you do it in a response to your fan base for a coach you don't want. Sometimes you're just that one coach away and you switch them out thinking that that's what's going to get you over the hump. Sometimes it's a PR move to begin a rebuild. People's lives are affected by coaching changes. First and foremost, the coach. And second, depending on the sport, it could be your players, your recruits, your front office, your assistant coaches. Because a lot of these guys, they come in with their own. They want to have their own guys. They want to bring in their own people. So these coaching changes that happen in every single sport, they mean a lot. And I would say no sport talks about coaching changes and talks about the possibility of coaching changes more than college football. You know, we always hear in the NFL, like, okay, which coaches are on the hot seat? Well, that's different. That's more talking which coaches are going to get fired, which coaches are ready, their time should be almost out. Like this year, I've already heard Jason Garrett on the hot seat multiple times from multiple news outlets. So that's different because that's affecting one man's life, and then it waterfalls down to his assistants and to other people around the team. But a lot of times when coaches get fired, you know, you hear about coaching candidates from your local media, and then that's about it. But you don't ever hear about that specific one coach that everybody's trying to covet. It just doesn't happen. You have offensive and defensive coordinators around the NFL that deserve shots at being a head coach, and that's why there just seems to be a larger pool of worthy candidates that are hard to decipher between. So then you go to the way that the coach is built, the way the coach is made up, the philosophies of the coach, and you find somebody that you want to represent your program. I mean, last year we saw Matt Patricia get hired by the Lions, and you look at Matt Patricia, no offense, Coach Patricia, but you look at him and you think, that doesn't look like a head coach. He's got his hat backwards. He's got a grizzly bear-looking beard that's all messed up. He's got a pencil in his ear, and he likes Detroit-style pizza. And you look at somebody like that, and you think, I don't know if that's somebody we want to represent our franchise, but he's a defensive wizard. He is a player's coach. And we always hear, okay, player's coach. Shouldn't every coach be a player's coach? No. In a way, every coach is a player's coach. But some of them have that reputation. Like Bill Belichick, most people wouldn't consider a player's coach. the way he talks, the way he acts. But you talk to any former Patriots player, or even any current Patriots player off the record, and they'll say he's funny, they'll say he has a good sense of humor, they'll say he's fun, and they'll say that he's easy to win for as long as you follow the rules. From the outside looking in, you wouldn't say any of those things about Bill Belichick. You'd say he's stubborn, quiet, grumpy, an old grandpa. I mean, it's different when you're behind those closed doors and you're around these coaches. They act differently and they treat you differently than maybe what they give the media, which is what the fan base gets to see. So every coach in their own way, is a player's coach. And the only time you're not a player's coach is if you're losing. And if you're losing, nobody likes you. Your fan base doesn't like you. Your front office doesn't like you. And your players don't like you. Every once in a while, you'll come across a guy like Hugh Jackson who is losing, and losing a lot, but he's a player's coach, and the players love him. Now, since he's been fired, we've had multiple accounts of players coming out and saying that he was behind the eight ball and scheming, and he wasn't quite all there when it came to, I guess, the X's and O's of the game plan. And that's probably a main reason why he didn't win football games. That, and he was given a roster built by the front office that was way below average. And, he got a good run at it. For his record, a lot of coaches would have been fired after the first year, definitely after the second year. So he got a good run at it, and that's because he was a player's coach. The players liked him, and they thought that he could possibly be the guy that once they got the right players on that team could turn it around. Well, that roster did start turning around. He got his quarterback, who so far Baker Mayfield has looked like he could do the job. And they weren't winning football games. Close football games they should have came out with. Games that they were leading in the fourth quarter and had a shot in overtime, they weren't winning. So he had to go. And what did they do? They turned around and get a win. First game. Now, it's also worth noting that Todd Haley is, as the offensive coordinator, had a reputation of being very difficult to work with. And because of that, he was considered one of those coaches that if you have him on his staff, he will get you fired and he will get himself fired. He's done that multiple places, and he just did it again. If anybody watched Hard Knocks before the season started, it was easy to see that between Williams, Haley, and Coach Jackson, it wasn't going to work. I mean, you could tell from episode 1 on, it just didn't look like it was going to mesh. It was going to work. So that's something that you see. Now, the difference between why I say we talk about it more in college football than in any other sport is you don't look in the NFL and see Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you don't look at him and you go, he would really be a great fit in Cleveland. He knows the division. He knows the city. He's good with developing players. He has a great track record. He's from there. Mike Tomlin strikes me as the type of guy who would really fit well with the Cleveland Browns. You don't do that. You don't look at Greg Popovich and go, Coach Pop could really coach these Lakers. He's best friends with LeBron. He's got a beach house in L.A. I know he wants the warmer weather like he has in San Antonio. He'll have a great roster of young talent and old talent mixed together. He'll be able to keep the attitudes under control, and he'll be fine trying to coach the Lakers, and he's going to make them great. He'd be a great fit there. You don't do that. No one's done that, ever. And I could go down every single sport in every single league, and nobody does that. The closest might be college basketball. So then you ask the question, okay, why in college sports are we so quick to move coaches around? It's like a fantasy draft of coaches. It's fun to do. Don't get me wrong. You like to find the little ins and outs, the little ties. Which program has better facilities? Which program has better future? Which program has a better athletic department? Which program has this, that? Which program offers the most money? This, that. And you put yourself in the shoes of a coach, and then you make up your mind, okay, he's going to go here or there before he's even made his decision. And if you're a student here on Purdue's campus and you're familiar with the sports here at Purdue, or if you're a listener around the country, you probably 4 minutes into my rant understood what I'm talking about. Louisville's former head coach, Petrino, was fired this past week at Louisville. It's not, I wouldn't say this is a surprise. I think everybody knew he was on his way out. People thought maybe it was last year he'd be on his way out, but definitely by this year. And Bobby Petrino was relieved of his coaching duties this past week. And it took approximately 3.7 seconds before Purdue's current head coach, Jeff Brom, was linked to possibly winning the job. Why is that? Well, to begin, he was an offensive coordinator at Louisville a long time ago. His wife is from the area. Everybody's always said that Coach Brom dream job was to be at Louisville. Everybody always said that. Everybody's like, he will eventually want to come home. Now, no one before this last week had ever asked him if that's a dream job of his, which that question was asked at a press conference, and he responded pretty frankly saying, no, it is not a dream job of mine. Did that slow people down from starting to put him on their most best fit coach for the team? No, it didn't slow anybody down. Here's what I challenge you sports fans on campus and you Purdue fans around the country. Here's what I challenge you to do. Ignore it all. Ignore every second of it. Because it's nothing you hear right now is worth anything. The only time that it's going to be worth you hearing something and believing it, the only time, is when you hear out of the mouth of Coach Brom, I am staying at Purdue or I am leaving Purdue for XXX job. That is the only time any of this matters at all. And if you see Coach Brom in the streets and you walk up and ask him, hey, Coach, where you going? You're not going to get an answer. You can try to trick him. You can try to say it in the code. He's not going to respond. And nobody in their right mind would. If I'm a coach and I'm thinking about leaving a program, I'm waiting till the time comes. I'm talking to my wife. I'm talking to my family. I'm talking to my kids. I'm talking to my assistants. I'm talking to whoever I need to talk to, the good Lord upstairs, whoever. And then I'm making my decision, and then I'm coming public with it when I'm ready. Anything you hear, any list you read, any report by any talking head around the country that sounds like this, and I'm not making this up. I've read them, I've heard them, I've seen them, and I've finally quit. Anytime you see Coach Brom, number one on Louisville coaching list. Coach Brom, best fit for Louisville coaching job. Coach Brom, with opportunity to head home and coach Louisville. It's garbage. It's a waste of time. People get paid to put out stories like that. It's clickbait, and it gives you something to read, and it gives you something to talk about. And that's fine. That is 100% fine if you understand that, if you believe that. If you do, and you know that none of this matters, then go ahead. Read it. Type it. Watch for it. Search it. I don't care. But you have to know going into it that everything you read is a waste of time. Everybody has stuff they do that's a waste of time. Those guilty pleasures, as people say. It's shows you watch. It's books you read. It's video games you play. It's clubs you're in. It's things that you like doing. And if you like playing fantasy coaching destination in your head and reading any fantasy hot take coaching searches you could find, then go for it. That's fine. But if you're living and dying by every word, you're missing the point. And here is the point. The point is, this team is still in a hunt to make a bowl game. This team still has Coach Brahm on their sidelines. This team still has an opportunity to win the bucket, and this team still has an opportunity to get one last win for the seniors at Ross-Ade Stadium this Saturday afternoon. That is what matters right now. Live in the moment, because what if he does leave? I don't know. And if you're a loyal listener to the show, you know that I work for Purdue Athletic Communications. I'm around the office. No one knows anything. At least not that I've been told, but I'm only an intern. So maybe higher up, there's some deep down secrets that I don't know about. But I can tell you, I'm like a fan. I don't know anything. And I don't really care to know anything. Because it's not worth the time or effort to start digging. I appreciate Coach Brahm. I appreciate Purdue Athletics. I appreciate the football program. I appreciate all the hard work they've put in this year. And I've had fun on this ride. And we'll talk about the ride coming up very shortly, because it took a very, very deep and dark plummet on Saturday. A plummet that I hadn't seen in a while. But I will still say I'm loving the ride. I got to storm the field after we curb stomped number 2 Ohio State. I got to watch us beat a ranked Iowa team. I watched us go on the lowest of lows, losing on a last-second field goal to Eastern Michigan. I got to watch us respond and dominate Boston College, a ranked team at Ross-Ade Field. I've seen it all this year. We've all seen it all this year. There's nothing we're not prepared for. And there's still a lot to play for. Yeah, we're not going to make it to the Big Ten championship game. Guess what? That was a long shot anyways. Northwestern deserves it. They played well. They took care of business in the division. And they deserve to be there. And I think they're going to represent us pretty well. I do. Yeah, did we miss an opportunity? I guess. Every team. Would you rather be us or Wisconsin right now? Wisconsin's the odds-on favorite every single year to represent our side of the conference. We were a long shot. Looking at our schedule before the year, people had us at a 4-5, maybe 6-win team, which you look at it now, it's not very far off. Obviously, we're not going to be 4, but right now we're sitting at 5 with 2, I wouldn't say cupcakes left, not even close. But still, after our 0-3 start, we went from a 4-5-6 win team to a 2-3 win football team. And then we got on a run. And we started beating people. What happened on Saturday was a disappointment. And hand in the air, because I was on the record on this show last week passionately talking about how much I doubted Minnesota and Coach Fleck, but they played hard. They fired the defensive coordinator. The defense came out and their defense came out and played hard. They played to win, and they were very, very, very impressive. What does this mean for our program? Well, let's start out with what went wrong. Because, look, and I mean, this is what I think went wrong. First off and foremost, I didn't know how much we'd miss Jacob Thieneman until we were missing Jacob Thieneman. I knew he was a very big part of this team, but I didn't know he was that big of a part of this team. His lack of presence on that defense was shocking how much it affected us. So that's first and foremost where the concern lies, I would say, because he's out for the rest of the regular season, and he's probably doubtful for a bowl game, except for it could be a lot of time for him to recruit. But at the moment, I would say he's doubtful for that. So you have to find a way to plug that spot, and it was his brother Brendan Thieneman on Saturday, and he had a rough time. The whole defense did, though. The secondary had a rough time. The linebacking core had a rough time. The defensive line had a rough time. Minnesota controlled and won that game from the first second to the end. Offensively, what went wrong? Well, what went right? David Blau, he was 20 of 31, 142 yards and a touchdown. It's not going to get the job done. A lot of 3-and-outs. Defense was on the field for a lot of the game. Minnesota had come in, given up a lot of points and a lot of rushing yards, and we somehow got only 88 yards. Knox had 34. Markel had 32. Horvath had 24. Tario got 12. Blau, negative 14. Not ideal. Rondell Moore did his job. 8 receptions, 76 yards, touchdown. Rest of the receiving core, crickets. Tight end Hopkins, 3 receptions, 25 yards. DJ Knox. That's a problem when DJ Knox is your third highest receiver in yards. 2 receptions, 11 yards. Anthrop, 1 reception, 9 yards. Zico, 3 receptions, 7 yards. No Terry Wright, nowhere. Hardly any, if at all, Sparks. Credit Minnesota. First and foremost, credit Minnesota because Minnesota. See what I did there? Because they were impressive. And now it's time to play my favorite game, which is really becoming less fun as this goes on. Last week was sort of fun because we had a long shot. Now I'm terrified. And you might be thinking to yourself, there's nothing to be worried about. I am terrified. We're 5-5. What a 5-5 roller coaster this has been. We have a chance to become bowl eligible for a second time. 3:30 on BTN in Ross-Ade Stadium against Wisconsin. BTN tailgate starts live at, well, I don't know. I have to be there at 8 a.m. I know it doesn't start at 8 a.m. Probably starts at 9, I would imagine. Maybe 10. I'm going to be, I hate to complain because it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm thankful for the Big Ten Network for giving me the opportunity to work BTN tailgate on Saturday morning. It's going to be cold, and it's going to be really cold. 10 a.m. Awesome. Sweet. So 10 a.m., so 10 to 12, BTN tailgate. Check it out. Spice Adams, Michelle McMahon, 2 of my faves. Got a nice picture with them last year. Looking forward to reconnecting with my friend Spice Adams again. I don't know if friend's a strong word, but I think of us as friends. He doesn't really know who I am, but he's cool. He's a really funny dude. So, got that Saturday morning. So, yeah, B10 tailgate coming to town. I know Mary Lou Donuts is going to be back again with their donut truck, giving out free donuts and coffee to everybody. So, come by, get loud, get rowdy. I mean, last year they had like Robbie Hummel on, and they had Coach Brahm on, and they had a lot of cool, exciting players on and stuff, which was fun. Hoping Tyler Trent can make it down for it. It's gonna be really cold. Hopefully he can make his way to the game at least. That'd be awesome for the program. Last game this year. Be cool to have him in attendance. Still thinking and praying for him. Hopefully he's getting better and just hanging in there because he's gonna fight. We know that. So you got Wisconsin, and then you have IU at IU. All right. Let me put it this way. There's a great chance, unless pigs start flying and something comes down from the sky, I'd be willing, I shouldn't do this, but I'd be close to willing to cut off my hand if IU somehow beat Michigan this weekend. It's just not going to happen is what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to actually cut off my hand if it happens, but it's not going to happen. That's what I'm trying to say. So then that makes IU 5-6 coming into our game. And God forbid we lose to Wisconsin and we're 5-6 going to Bloomington, which you couldn't pay me. Here's a couple ways to look at it. You want to beat Wisconsin. You want to beat Wisconsin really, really bad, because now you're bowl eligible and you're still playing for the bucket, but it's not like win or disaster, okay? Another way to look at it is you got an opportunity to spoil bowl chances for IU. That'd be awesome, but I'd like to have my bowl wrapped up before that. That way I don't have to sit there like terrified, because weird stuff happens at IU. And I don't mean, well, I do mean outside of the stadium, but weird stuff happens inside the stadium during games at IU. I've been to IU, I don't even know what their field is called. I don't even know if it has a name. I've been there once, and I've been there for a tailgate once in my life, and I was young. My oldest sister went to IU, and so we might have done it more than once, but I vividly remember one time, and I think I might have been in high school, but I doubt it. If I was in high school, I was a freshman in high school. I might have been in 8th grade. I was young. I didn't want to go. Shocker. I didn't want to be there. I didn't really care to be there, but I went anyway to see my sister and whatever. And we even have tickets to the game, which I thought was crazy, because I've never been to a tailgate in my life where I wasn't preparing to tailgate to go into said game. But then I was looking around, I'm like, wait, nobody is going into the game. Nobody. And there's students and parents and fans everywhere. Everywhere. And nobody was going into the game. And I just couldn't believe it. And I'm telling you this story now because, unfortunately, next week is Thanksgiving, and there will be no Next Point wins. So the next time I hear from you guys, we're either going to be talking about what bowl we're in, or we're going to be crying together. So I got to get this in now. I got to get all this in now, because there's a lot of IU hatred in these bones. There really is. And people a lot of times say, why does it bother you so much? Why does it? Because it's I've grown up with it. It's just been in me since I could crawl. And I'm not saying that to be dramatic. I truly mean it. I get more fired up about IU than I do anything in this world. I would say the Green Bay Packers are a close second, and the Chicago Cubs are like a distant third, but still third on my list. Nothing grabs my goat like Indiana University. Back to my story. So I went down there one time, and people were hammered. And I really hadn't seen, like, drunk people before. That's how young I was. I mean, I'd seen drunk people, but not like this. I mean, there was, like, this area where they were just raving. Like, there was just music playing. Everybody was just jumping up and down. Like, it was like a mosh pit. And, I mean, cool. Like, my whole thought about it is, that's awesome. Like, that's a party. It's a party. It's a fun place to party. There's no doubt about it. But how do you not go into the game after? And I've heard it's changed since then. Like, over the years, it's gotten better with the new coach and the new program. That, like, more students are going into the game. But I'm just telling you from what I experienced. Like, I think it was they shut it down like 30 minutes before game time, thinking that people were going to go into the game. But in all honesty, everybody just stumbled home to go to sleep. And I just couldn't believe how stupid it was. I mean, the amount of alcoholic beverage cans on the ground, like in that area where they were mosh pitting, it was, I mean, they tore the place up. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. So we didn't have tickets to the game. It was like I already know, IU was playing Northwestern. So it wasn't even that great of a game at the time. Neither program was awesome. We didn't have tickets to the game because nobody in my family really wanted to go. And because we didn't like IU. And so we were like, all right, we'll go down, cook for my sister, food and whatnot, and hang out, and then go. And since I've been a little kid, I've always been like a fan of stadiums. Like, it's weird. Like, a lot of people like remember their first time like their first time riding a bike, or their first time I don't know, what people like, whatever monumental moments that kids can remember. I guess your first time going to Disney World, your first time seeing a beach, your first time, like, stuff like that, like, sticks with children. For me, I'll never forget the first time I walked into U.S. Cellular Field where the White Sox played. Although I think because I didn't see Kaminsky. I was too young. I'll never forget the first time I went to Soldier Field. and saw the Bears. I'll never forget, and I'm not talking about the whole game. I'm talking about walking through the tunnel and looking out at the field. Walking into the United Center for a Blackhawks game. Walking into Mackey Arena. Walking into Ross-Ade Stadium. These are memories that I have ingrained in my head. And I've seen Cincinnati's park. I like stadiums. I like seeing the field. There's just, every time, no matter where you are, there's something about walking out and looking at the court, looking at the field, looking at the rink that is just, maybe I'm weird about, maybe this is weird, but that's just the way I am. That's the way I've been built. And so where I'm trying to go at this is, it was midway through the third quarter, and we were kind of done tailgating, and I was I kind of want to walk up and see if they'll let me just walk in and look at it. I just want to see the field. I want to see IU Stadium. And so me and my brother and my mom went up to the stadium, and we went up to the lady scanning in tickets, and there was somebody standing there, but they weren't looking for tickets. It was really late in the game. It might have been the start of the fourth quarter. My mom was just hey, my two boys have never seen the inside of IU Stadium. Can you mind if we just walk in and look for a moment? We don't need to stay. They're oh yeah, go ahead. I mean, let's put it this way. You walk into the second half of Mackey Arena, or if you were trying to walk in the second half of the Purdue-Ohio State game without a ticket in Ross-Ade Stadium, they ain't letting you in. Not even close. You can make up any excuse you want that you lost your ticket, you just got to pass out, doesn't matter. They're not letting you back in. They were begging us to come in, practically. She's oh yeah, go ahead, sit down, stay a while. So I walked in, I started looking around, and it was bizarre. They were first off, nobody there. It was empty. And I'll just never forget, there were kids playing on a dirt hill. I don't know if it was dirt because it was rained. It hadn't rained, but maybe it was late in the season, maybe, so maybe it just was worn out. But there was a hill in one of the corners of the end zone, and kids were sledding down them on cardboard pieces of trash and boxes. High school kids even younger. It reminded me of how you guys ever have high school football games where nobody watched the game, if you were younger than a freshman in high school, even freshman in high school, but definitely 8th grade and lower, you went to the football games not to watch the game, but to hang out in all your cliques and groups and talk to girls and whatnot, and it was always behind the stands, or it was to the side of the field, and you could go the entire game without watching a second of it. You could go the whole time without watching a second of the game. But it was it was cool to be there, in your cliques and in your groups and hanging out with your buds. That's what it felt like, but it was a college football game. These kids are just sledding down the hill. No one even cares to watch. Who knows where their parents are? A lot of their parents were standing there with them. I could not believe it. It's weird. It was so bizarre. I don't know if it still happens. I don't know if that's something that I just saw on my specific day I was there. I haven't been there since, but I'll never forget it. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen at a game. So weird stuff happens in Bloomington. Weird stuff happens outside of the stadium, and weird stuff happens inside the stadium. And weird stuff happens on that field, and I don't want to be 5-6 trying to get a win to go to a bowl game in there. Do I think we're a much better team than them? Yes, we are. Even with our defensive struggles and our injuries on that end of the field, do I think that we're better than them? 100% we are. Did I think we were 100% better than Minnesota? Yes, I did. How did that work out? Not well. So, Wisconsin this weekend, we already know. We already know what they're going to do. It's the closest opponent to Boston College I've seen all year. They're going to run the ball, and they can't throw it. Boston College was the same way. They had that star running back, Dillon. They tried to run the ball against us. When they had to throw, they couldn't do it. Load the box. Marcus Bailey's going to have a monster game. Derek Barnes is going to have a monster game. Lorenzo Neal needs to have a monster game. We have to quit with the stupid penalties. Load that box. Beg them to throw. And then offense does what our offense does. Go out and score points. And you go out on top, senior day, you're bowl eligible, and then you go into Bloomington next week, and you curb stomp IU and get that bucket, send them home packing, and you wait for your bowl game. That's what you do. That's what has to happen. Worst case scenario, you lose to Wisconsin in Ross-Ade, and now you're trying to become bowl eligible in Bloomington. And everything that we've done, our win over number 2 Ohio State, our win over number 16 Iowa, our win over number 3 Boston College, our win on the road at Nebraska and Illinois, all gets swept under the rug, so to speak. It's not gone. Like, that win against Ohio State will never leave my brain. It'll never leave this program because it was so special. But you got to make a bowl. You got to get the bucket. You got to find a way. And we will see. When we come back, we're going to talk about Purdue basketball real quick. They had a couple games last week and getting ready for a early season tournament coming up. So we'll dissect that. I got my college football picks. I got unsportsmanlike conduct. Got a little NFL talk to do as well. We'll get to all that shortly coming up here on Next Point Wins. Quick timeout. We'll be back. Welcome back to Next Point Wins. I'm your host, Matt Geely. If you missed the first half of the show, you can find it on YouTube or SoundCloud. Just got done kind of dissecting Coach Braum and his current and very happy situation here at Purdue University. And also we talked about the Purdue football team and what they have to do and what's coming up for them this weekend against Wisconsin and next weekend at IU to try to make it to a bowl. Okay, got to change topics here. Got to move on because we got a lot more to talk about. Let's do Purdue basketball. They got a nice win over Ball State last week. It was kind of the no-Joe Eastern game, I would say. He had a phenomenal game. Almost had a double-double. He was active on the glass, active defensively, and active scoring points for the Boilermakers. Carson Edwards was Carson Edwards doing his job. Clyde had a tough game shooting, but didn't really need it because the other guys stepped up. And that's exactly what I want to see all year long, especially early on in the season. When specific starters and star players go down, who steps up? So far, Carson's been consistently very good. He was a little shaky in the exhibition game, but that didn't really count, and other people did step up for him. The first 2 regular season games, he's been phenomenal. There'll come a game, because he's a basketball player, where he's going to have a rough time at it. So we have to see who's going to step up. Last game, it was no-Joe Eastern. Saw Wheeler play a lot better. He got a lot more minutes. He was active. Boudreaux hit a couple threes. Harms hit a 3. It's a team that they look different, and they got a long way to go. They're young. They are so young, but they got a lot of growing they can do. And if they can get it done and keep growing, getting better, they're going to do well. They play tomorrow at 5 o'clock on, I think it's ESPN, Charleston Classic in Charleston, South Carolina. They take on Appalachian State. 5 o'clock ESPN2. After that, the next day, if they win, they get the winner of. I should just look it up because I'm not going to remember who they got because it's weird. It's a different type of bracket because you get games no matter what. So if they were to somehow lose, they would still have some consolation games. But the field, let's just say the field looks promising. A couple good opponents in here, but nobody that blows me away. So Purdue Appalachian State, November 15th, so tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And then they get the winner of Wichita State and Davidson. So Wichita State will be heavily favored in that game. That game's at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. And then the semifinal, if they make it, probably, if I had to predict the bracket, they're going to face Wichita State. And that's Friday at 6:30 p.m. Purdue against Wichita. And then on the other side of the bracket, you have Ball State against Virginia Tech. That's tomorrow as well. That's in the morning. We just saw Ball State, and Virginia Tech's a pretty good opponent. And then the other game is Alabama Northeastern. I don't really know much about either one of those two. It's probably worth a quick look for me, and I'll do it as we talk. That game is at 2 p.m., so they're the two early games. Their side of the bracket's the two early games, and we're the two late games, which is kind of nice if you're trying to watch tomorrow. Definitely possible. Okay, November 14th, November 15th. And then, so it's Alabama and Northeastern. I don't really know anything about Northeastern at all. Virginia Tech's ranked 16th, so there you go. There's a start for you. So that's going to be a good opponent. Alabama is not ranked, and neither is Northeastern. But I know Ken Palm has them both in his top 50, so they're not bad opponents at all. So their semifinal game is 11 a.m. on Friday. As I said, ours would be at 6:30 p.m. on Friday. And then the championship game is November 18th, so 4 days from now, 8:30 p.m. ESPN2. And if I had to handicap the field right now, it'd be Purdue against Virginia Tech. And that'd be a top 25 matchup for us at number 16, Virginia Tech, and Purdue 23rd. So opportunity to get some good games in, to get away from home, get away from Mackey Arena. It's a great opportunity for this team to grow together. It's a lot of time spent together, so you learn a lot about each other at games like this, and a good opportunity to get some wins. So hopefully when next time I talk to you, we'll be Charleston Classic champions and still undefeated and moving right along. We've seen teams have some hiccups early on, and got to try to get out of these clean and unscathed. So hopefully we can get that done. Okay, let's do my football picks before we get to unsportsmanlike conduct. So we're going to do that. I'm going to be honest with you guys, and this is tough for me to say. Really weak slate of college football games this weekend. Really, really bad. It's one of those where it's the week before kind of a big week where a lot of rivalries happen. So a lot of top 25 teams have really soft opponents. For example, Alabama is playing the Citadel. All right, here's the game. Everybody gets one guess. Say it out loud. If you're with somebody, they can keep you honest. The Citadel. Give me a state, bonus point if you can give me the city. The Citadel University. I'm Googling it because I don't know. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you guessed South Carolina, you're correct. This is kind of, what a great, I'm good when I don't mean to be good. Great segue. Charleston, South Carolina. So Purdue will be taking on Appalachian State. This is pro right here. This is what the pros do. Purdue will be taking on Appalachian State coming up tomorrow night with a chance to move on and by the weekend win the Charleston Classic. Speaking of Charleston, did you know that Alabama is playing the Citadel this weekend? And the Citadel is from Charleston, South Carolina. Boom. Segue. Killed it. So if you guess Charleston, South Carolina, you win and you're weird. That's right. You're weird. You shouldn't know that. Nobody should know that. Tickets are as low as $10 to see Alabama play the Citadel. If anybody needs a road trip to Alabama, it's a noon start. I recommend it. Okay. Sidetracked. Got to get back on. See, this is what happens. I derailed. I'm back now. Here we go. Focus. I am locked in. Picks for the weekend. I'm going to give you 4, and I'll give you Actually, I'm going to give you 3 because this is a week slate, and I got an NCAA basketball special, and I got an NFL special. So let's do it. Okay, game number 1, Iowa State at Texas, 8 p.m. on the Longhorn Network. Iowa State at Texas. Iowa State, 16th ranked. Texas, 15th ranked. It's one of our only top 25 matchups this week. I don't know if I believe that, but it's at Texas, and this is saying tickets as low as $2. If that's true, that's sad. All right. focus. Texas. I think Texas is one of the best 3-loss teams in the country. I don't know if that's like a good thing or not, but I think Texas is really talented. I think their defense is good. Man, they scared me though. They almost lost to Texas Tech last week. They really probably should have lost, except for they got a nice little run at the end. But man, they had me a little concerned. I'm gonna take Texas. They're giving up 2.5. It was 3 about 20 minutes ago when I looked. So people are going Iowa State. I'm going Texas to win by 5. So take Texas. Number 2, Cincinnati at UCF. That's the other top 25 matchup. 24 Cincinnati, 11 UCF. People are trying to say, is UCF legit or not? This is their biggest test of the year. It's at home. It's a game they should win. Do they win it? I think they do. I'll take UCF by 4. UCF wins by 4. And my third college football game will be Wisconsin at Purdue. We've been over the game. Keys to the game. Load that box. Make them throw. Limit the bad penalties, and you can beat Wisconsin. Does Purdue beat Wisconsin? For my health and the health of everybody listening, we don't want to go into IU needing a win for the bowl game. We're going to become bowl eligible. We finish off Ross Aid like we should. We send the seniors off happy. Purdue, 35. No, that's too high. Wisconsin's defense is too good. Purdue, 24-12. 24-12. How does Wisconsin get 12, you ask? I don't know. That's what they're going to do. 24-12, Purdue wins. 2 specials. We'll do hoops first because there's some really good college basketball on tonight. Really good. So let's talk about it quickly. We got my special pick is Michigan at Villanova. That's 6:30 p.m. FS1. 18th ranked Michigan, 8th ranked Villanova. Don't know much about either of these teams yet, which is exactly why I'm going to tune in tonight. I'm going to take Villanova by 10. It's hard to win at Villanova, and I know Michigan lost a lot. I think Michigan's, you know how Michigan is. They start out slow. They lose a couple games they probably shouldn't lose. Then their brilliant coach, Beeline, figures out his rotations, his team, and by Big Ten tournament time and NCAA tournament time, they're a force to be reckoned with. But I'm taking Villanova tonight to win by 10. There's another couple Big Ten teams playing tonight. One, I guess, worth note, 24th Marquette's at IU. That's 8:30 p.m. If you guys need help, I can find something else in this world to watch besides that. Because, I mean, let's be honest, who truly cares to watch IU at the moment? I don't. Let's see. Oh, here you go. Buffalo, Ohio, MAC action. Miami, Ohio, Northern Illinois, MAC action. Miami, Ohio, Northern Illinois. That's an 8 p.m. start on ESPNU. If you want a little MAC action. Over-under set at 48, so it's going to be a high-scoring game. Tune into that if you don't want to watch Bloomington. And my NFL special of the week, we'll do... the NFL slate's good, thankfully, because the college football is not. Philadelphia, New Orleans is a great game. Minnesota, Chicago is a great game. Kansas City, Rams is a great game. Denver, Chargers, sneaky good. Houston, Washington, sneaky good. Pittsburgh, Jacksonville, sneaky good, kind of. Not really. My special pick is going to be... I'm not going to do Chicago because that's too obvious. I'll do Monday night game because everybody likes a little Monday night game action. Kansas City at the Rams. It was just announced that this game's getting moved to L.A. Bad field conditions in Mexico City, so they're going to have to move that game out of Mexico City and back to L.A. And I think that's good because I want to see the Chiefs have to play a tough road game because Chiefs are really good, but I want to see Mahomes have to go into a rowdy environment. Now, L.A. is not exactly rowdy. They can hardly fill that stadium right now, but it's better than going to Mexico City and it being, like, neutral. So, I'm going to take the Rams, although I think the Rams have some flaws. They could hardly beat Seattle last week, and there's some flaws with that offense, especially with Cooper Kupp out now. But I'm still going to take the Rams to win by 7. That's kind of a lot. It's going to be an absolute shootout. I could see both teams in the 30s at least. Rams by 7. Those are my picks of the week. Follow them. I don't know if I'd recommend taking them, but they're there. Do with them as you please. All right, got to get unsportsmanlike conduct in before we wrap up shop here. 10 minutes to go in the show. Let's do it. Unsportsmanlike conduct.
And now, on unsportsmanlike conduct.
Personal foul, number 15, unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's a horrible call!
All right, first up. And I found some really weird stories this morning. First up, Charlie Rogers Jr. You might be thinking, okay, who is Charlie Rogers Jr.? Well, he's a former NFL player, and he was just arrested yesterday for threatening someone with a sword. Okay, so you might be thinking to yourself, that's kind of strange. You know, gun, sure. Knife, I guess. Crowbar, yeah. I don't know. Nerf gun, okay. A sword, and it was an argument at a youth sports event. He turned himself in, and he was charged with making terroristic threats, stalking, and weapons offenses. It happened on October 5th. It was a meeting for a youth basketball travel team. Ooh, youth basketball travel team. That gets rowdy. Ooh, man. Some of the best youth travel teams. Nothing worse than youth sports. Everybody thinks their kid's LeBron James. All right. He threatened someone with a sword. He left a voicemail for the parent. He was fired from his job as offensive coordinator. That's strange. And he played 5 years in the NFL. You don't threaten people, and don't threaten them with a sword. Why do you have a sword? Was it real? Where'd you get it? Did you have it in your? I don't know what it's called. Dang it! I wish I knew what it was called. What do you call the thing that your side holder? It's not what it's called. There's a name for it. Sheath, maybe? I don't know. I'm not good with sword lingo. Not a big Lord of the Rings sword LARPing guy. It's not my style. Shocker, I know. What'd you do? Pull that thing out and make the cross your neck symbol? How do you threaten someone? And also, if I'm the guy getting threatened by a sword, I'm concerned because what psychopath has a sword in his side saddle sheath thingamajigger? I wish I knew what it was called. So I'm kind of concerned because this guy's obviously crazy, but I'm also kind of like, dude, where'd you get the sword, man? That's kind of cool. I don't know. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Don't bring a sword to a youth shouting match. Number 2. Carolina Panthers defensive tackle Kyle Love is very unhappy with ESPN and Monday Night Football's crew. They did a Come On Man segment before Monday Night Football game against the Giants and the Niners, and it shows him, and he looks to be asleep on the bench in the fourth quarter of their loss to Pittsburgh on Thursday night, which I don't blame him. Thursday Night Football, it can get a little sleepy, especially if you're getting your brains beaten out of you by Pittsburgh. K'Wan Short, former Boilermaker, is on record saying he's actually pretty mad because he wasn't asleep, according to K'Wan Short. It's just one of those things where the camera hit him in the spot where his head was down, and it looks like he's asleep, but he's really not. Love went to Instagram saying, people will believe anything about you as long as it's negative, but anything positive is getting questioned. First off, not great. Did I read that wrong? Let's try it again. I don't want to give him the short end of the straw here. People will believe anything about you as long as it's negative, but anything positive getting questioned. Tough English, but okay, fair point. Yeah, you're right. People hate me because they ain't me. That's, I guess, the Spark Notes version of that. The 6'1", 315-pound player. Okay, rewind. 315 pounds. Hey, I didn't mean to make fun of you for the English. It's all good. Don't hurt me. So, yeah, sorry. Whew. Okay. He believes he hasn't gotten the attention he deserves for his play this season. I mean, I bet it was funny. I didn't see the segment. I wish I would have. I'll have to go find it. I'm sure it was funny, but I could see where a camera could hit you in the back of the head or the side shot where your head is down in your hands because you're getting curb stomped by Pittsburgh, and you're like, well, I'm sad. And everybody, I guess ESPN should have done their due diligence and asked him if he was sleeping before showing it, but yeah, well, what can you do? All right, last one. And this one's real. This one almost ruined my weekend. It almost ruined I had a lot of fun watching football this weekend, and it almost got ruined for me. And we're going to play a new game here on Unsportsmanlike Conduct, and it's Guess the Unsportsmanlike Conduct. So you're going to guess who gets this unsportsmanlike conduct. I'm going to play you an audio. I'll play it a couple of times, and you try to guess who deserves this unsportsmanlike conduct. Here we go.
Yards away, and that. 1 yards away, and that. Boy, he can hit 1 yards away, and that. Boy, he can hit those 1 yards away, and that.
One more time.
Boy, he can hit 1 yards away, and that.
That sound was in my head for about 24 hours straight. Here's the full video. This unsportsmanlike conduct, if you guessed Cody Parkey, the place kicker for the Chicago Bears, you are correct, hit 4 uprights. He hit the uprights 4 times throughout the game. And you know what? I found it hilarious earlier in the year when Mason Crosby had a lot of trouble missing field goals. But seriously, I would have rather Parkey miss 60 yards to the right and 60 yards to the left and then 60 yards to the right and then 60 yards to the left, because that sound of that ball hitting that upright 4 times in the game drove me nuts. Here's all 4 kicks, courtesy of Fox Sports.
Cody Parkey hits the upright. And the extra point. That's 2 now. 13 out of 16 for the season. 41 yards away. And that. Boy, he can hit those uprights, can he? Toward the upright. Unbelievable. Can you believe this? He's hit 4 uprights today.
I can't even begin to describe my anger. I was yelling at him. I thought that he was a traitor. I thought he's robbing this franchise right now. He is robbing them. He is robbing them of their time, of their money, and of their sanity. And he's robbing this fan base too. He should be thrown in jail for that effort. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. Us Chicago fans, hatred runs thick, and people don't play around with stuff like this, especially when it comes to kickers. We don't like kickers. We liked Robbie Gould. We thought he was the greatest thing ever. And then once we lost him, it's been just nothing but disaster. Just disastrous. Connor Barth, horrible. I'll never name my kid Connor because of Connor Barth. He was the worst. And now I can't name my kid Cody either. So let's bring in another guy and ruin that name for me. How can I name my kid Cody when all I think about is Cody Parkey and this sound right here?
41 yards away, and that. 1 yards away.
I just can't stand it. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Learn how to make a field goal. 2 of them were extra points, and it was like a 34-yarder chip shot, and the last one was like 41 or something, 41 yards. You're the worst. You're horrible. They started going out and going for 2 because they couldn't even stomach watching them kick another field goal. You know what I think this week against the Vikings? Let's just score 6 every time. We'll take knees on the 2-point conversion or just do the 2-point conversion. I don't care which, but I can't watch that man go out and make a kick. Now, if he goes out and hits a game winner Sunday night, we'll be all good. But until then, you're dead to me. Unsportsmanlike conduct, Cody Parkey. Boilermakers in action, 3:30. Against Wisconsin, Ross-Ade Stadium with a chance to go to a bowl. BTN tailgate starts at 10 a.m. Come out, check it out. Say hi to me if you see me. I'll be bundled up in like 12 layers trying not to freeze. Friday night, redeemersports.com. Just a quick plug. If you want to check out West Lafayette, the local high school team here, is taking on Fort Wayne Bishop Lures at Bishop Lures. I'm on the call for that game. That starts at 7:30. Go to redeemerradio.com and you can listen live there. It's also I'll tweet out links and stuff like that throughout the rest of the week beforehand. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time off next week. Boilermakers noon at IU. Don't go unless you're forced to. It's a waste of your time. Hopefully we're already bowl eligible and we'll send them home crying and get that bucket back. Purdue basketball, Charleston Classic starts tomorrow. Games played all weekend. Support them. Look for links. Look for tweets. I'll be keeping everybody updated. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy football. And Cody Parkey, learn how to make a field goal.
And that, boy, he can hit those uprights.
This is Next Point Wins.